taking our time for the session today. The topic is sort of very interesting, innovation at warp speed. Since morning, through all the keynotes, we have been talking about innovation, disruptions in the market, possibilities that exist today, the pace at which things are moving, and we thought we'll sort of contextualize it by understanding from these two panelists here in terms of how this journey has evolved for them and what kind of changes do they expect as we move along, right? So I'll probably, get started right away and sort of just to set the theme of the session, I'll look for your individual responses in terms of the definition of innovation and is that changing, right? If you look at last several centuries, right, innovation in the early days was focused around individuals, right? You had Edisons of the world and Einsteins of the world innovating stuff, right? And then it moved to large corporates like GE, GM and others who came in and disrupted and innovated in the market. And then the last several years has been all about Amazons of the world, Teslas of the world, startups doing a lot of innovation and things like those. Where do you see this innovation to move along as we think of the possibilities, as we look at all the scenarios that are evolving? And Ravi, I'll probably start with you. How do you think the landscape of innovation or the paradigm of innovation itself is evolving in this context?
I think, it's clear to all of us that, I think most companies, even the largest companies, can't build everything themselves anymore. And, just the speed, the pace of innovation and, the pace at which you have to deliver has just gone through the roof, right? I think, that's, the expectation is very high. And so that, I think, is the biggest change in my mind.
What has led to that change?
I don't know. It's a confluence of many things. I think it's a confluence of technologies. It's a confluence of the flat information world we live in today. Yeah, I think that probably guides it more than anything. The fact that you can absorb information, osmosis of information, the ability to kind of experience best in breed in any technology instantly. Everybody knows what the best EV vehicle today is, whereas it might have taken a lot longer 100 years ago to understand what was the best ship or the best canoe or whatever it was in your field, right? So I think that's fundamentally what's driving it. The availability of information, the ability to collaborate then comes as a natural consequence of that information fabric being there. I think the competition comes because it's evident to you when you're falling behind. The new entrants are clearly, the barbarians are at the gate, even if they're small barbarians, right? And so you see them. I think, that's, the biggest driver is, and that, and all the other goodness that then it creates. Urgency is great for any business. I think feeling that threat, right? I think, what Andy Grove said, right? You're always paranoid or whatever, right? Now that paranoia level is high. In any boardroom you go, they should be paranoid, right? It's good to be paranoid, right? In some sense.
Sure. So Jaspreet, from your perspective, you come in from a background or a company that has been there for a fairly long period of time. Are you getting paranoid with what's happening in the industry, and how's that changing the way you look at your business going forward, right? How has the innovation paradigm changed for someone like Mahindra and Mahindra? And if you could give some examples in this context, I think that would be really good.
Thanks. Well, I come from a background that is far more technology and startup.
We love that.
But my current role, I definitely work, I'm kind of like the chief digital officer of a company which is certainly not technology or a startup. Okay, so at the Mahindra and Mahindra group, so what is really happening is, and through this panel, Praveen, through this talk, I'm really going to bring in the perspective of a traditional legacy company, rather than the perspective of a technology company or a startup, because sometimes those worlds are different. And so, I think one of the things which companies like ours or groups like ours have started doing from an innovation viewpoint is to borrow concepts from how the tech world innovates or how tech startups innovate in some sense. Innovation was always for us about going out in the market, doing a whole lot of market research, figuring out what the needs of the customer are, and then making a product which was like the lowest common multiple, of all needs. And then the product that would come out, whether people like it or not, it's there. And then for the next 24 months, you go sell the hell out of it, market the hell out of it, bring Amitabh Bachchan, whatever. Now, those things have changed. And in many ways, we've kind of gone back even to pre-Kotler days. Kotler talked about this mousetrap, build the perfect mousetrap and people will beat a path to your door. He said that's wrong. You got to figure out what people need and then build a mousetrap. Well, the technology industry frankly teaches us that you build a better mousetrap. Okay, anticipate the needs of the mouse and then build that, and actually people will come. And that's kind of a fundamental tectonic mind shift for companies like us. And so many of us borrow concepts, borrow tools. Agility, for example, agile way of working versus waterfall, which is traditionally a software way of doing things, but that's how we are looking at doing some of our products. Bringing in the concept of customer experience, customer journeys, design thinking. Again, borrowed, okay, and kind of how we kind of bring that in. But most importantly, get rid of our legacy mindsets of everything is mine, everyone is competition, to actually becoming far more open and platform-like. To give you an example, at this point of time, we at the Mahindra Group are kind of building what we call a farmer's platform. Literally an open API-able platform, which think of it like a Play Store or an App Store for farmers, on which not only our services and products for farmers can sit on, but 99% would actually be startups in the agri-tech space, our competitors, John Deere, etc., all of them kind of sitting there, so that as far as the farmer is concerned, he gets on a single platform all product, services, advisory, information, which is not necessarily only Mahindra. It's frankly a tectonic mind shift for us.
So how real is innovating for needs versus creating newer needs by innovation, Ravi? You have been looking at the technology ecosystem a lot more closely over the last several journeys that you have taken. What's the sense? Is that changing? Are we innovating ahead of the needs, and is that the right way to think about it as well?
See, I don't know. I mean, I can just tell you from my own perspective, when I start a startup, I look at something that I think is a pain point and I try to build something for that, right? But I see a lot of hand-wringing. People keep saying there's not enough deep innovation, there's too many copycat things, and all of that is relative, right? In some sense, it's great with the rear view mirror looking back at something after it's now pronounced to be a winner and then saying that's great innovation. But if you look at EV cars itself, if you take a look at what Elon Musk is doing, some might say it's incremental because he's just trying to make the rocket reusable, he's trying to make Hyperloop is a new monorail or a new maglev, right? This is another, but at the same time there are fundamental innovations there, right? So I think it's hard to say what is truly innovative or customer driven. I think the entrepreneur has to decide that for themselves. If it's a startup, companies clearly have more data because they have a footprint, they have customers they have to serve, so they have that kind of either hostage to that or they have the benefit and the leverage of that, right? So in some sense they have great insight, but the insight might trap them too, because they sit inside that box and they want to serve those customers first, right? So I think that's where you need to kind of figure out how you can break out of that in some circumstances, I think.
And a lot of this breaking out also depends on, as to your earlier point, a lot of that depends on collaborating with the ecosystem that's available to you, right? People have their different definitions of collaboration and they have their own playbooks of how do you go about doing innovation and things like those. If you were to just take a step back and look at the journey of successful companies, the journey that you guys have gone through, the journey that you're inspired about, what do you think are the 3 or 4 elements of being successful at innovation? How do you think of the playbook? And more importantly, because the theme we're talking about here is innovating at warp speed, right? How do you make it a reality? How does that really happen? And if you could give some examples on that, that'll be a good takeaway for the audience.
So I'd say, looking forward, I'd rather look forward than back. I think looking forward, warp speed, I think the key for me there is leveraging other people's platforms as fast as they can. There's a couple of things. Leveraging other people's platforms, leveraging other people's distribution, right? They have either eyeballs, customers, consumers, whatever aggregation. So either you're feeding into their distribution or you're leveraging their platform. Let me talk about what might be in the platform. I mean, we see a lot of companies today that are saying, I'm doing AI, ML, various things. And sometimes I'll go talk to those startups and they're actually trying to build from ground zero. You actually will be at a disadvantage if you try to do that. If you look at the latest releases from the large companies, the tech platform companies, there's so much already available, literally with the call of an API. I'll just give you an example, right? If you want to do vision, you want to do machine learning, you want to do big data, right? Whatever it is, if you're not leveraging that to the absolute hilt, you're going to be behind, and you're going to be 6 months is an eternity, right? It's a whole release cycle. It might be a whole product cycle even, right? So I think that's where warp speed comes in. Can I just take all those and build on top of that, and then build only the IP that deserves building, and then can I leverage somebody else's aggregation of either consumers' footprints? This is where partnerships matter. And then, can I create value by marrying those two, right? In some sense. I think that's where warp speed, compared to even 10 years ago, you might have had to build the market yourself. You might have had to build some of these base technologies yourself from scratch. That would have required a lot of R&D and latency to realization of value, right? I think that's where warp speed comes in for me. It's just going to get faster and faster. If you want to do something in location, there's already stuff there. If you don't know what is state of the art, you're in trouble. If you think blockchain means I'm going to go all the way down and start writing blockchain code in Java, you're badly mistaken, right? If you think image recognition means it's more than 2 API calls to the right platform on the back end, you're badly mistaken, right? If it means whatever, ... You can take that and how fast can you put that component together? Is going to be the key.
What's available, and I saw, Jaspreet was laughing or smiling when you talked about some of this stuff. I know in our pre-panel talk, Jaspreet, you were talking about your focus on some of these core technologies, modern focus areas. Talk to us a little bit about that. How are you envisioning warp speed? Is that even the right term to think about from someone like a Mahindra and Mahindra, kind of background?
In companies like mine, the warp takes a little bit more time to unfold. It's relative. Look, warp speed for Mr. Musk is talked about a lot these days. So a warp speed for Elon Musk is slightly different speed than a warp speed for the Mahindra group or the Tata group. However, relatively, what would take years to do probably now takes months to do. Similarly, the whole concept of a playbook for innovation sometimes becomes contradictory. Okay, many times innovation is about adjusting to the needs, adjusting to the environment, quickly figuring out what are the available and what is not available, quickly putting stuff together, it just works and getting out. And the moment one tries to put a playbook on innovation, frankly, my view and kind of my experience that then this whole concept of whether innovation happens or there's a process for innovation. Just giving you, I think the only thing that we at the group over the last couple of years have put as a playbook is just one single point. Whenever you want to do innovation, do it outside the company. It's as simple as that. Now, outside could mean many things. Outside could mean working with a startup in some way. Outside could mean investing in a startup and letting them be.
Or setting up an accelerator.
I'll come to that. Or it could mean actually setting up a separate company, separate board, separate kind of people, separate city, outside your own company. So, for example, we have a tractor company. We make lots of tractors. Actually, we make the most number of tractors in the world, and they sell well. The tractor company is growing, it's profitable, it's listed, it's whatever, and it's absolutely the wrong time to disrupt that company. On the other hand, the world is changing, right? And so we've kind of created this little time bomb on the side, which is called Tringo. Tringo is an Uber for tractors. And so, because the same dynamics of shared economy would apply in taxis or apply in houses or hotels. Tractor is idle most of the time. Most farmers don't own tractors. And so, can you kind of build a platform? But then the platform which needs to be built obviously cannot be a purely Uber-like platform. You need to ruralize it, Indianize it, vernacularize it. But then this Tringo is nothing to do with Mahindra. It could be any tractors, it's not powered by Mahindra, nothing, it's separate. And run separately funded. And if it succeeds, we will have to stop making tractors. Similarly, blockchain. We've done a whole lot of work on blockchain, more than, if I may say so, many technology companies. But we did that all outside and then brought it inside. That's probably the only playbook that we have which seems to work. The rest is by instinct.
Very interesting. So let's then go to the next one, which is really about, we have a large audience today which comes from a innovation background. They come from large corporates, large tech companies, trying to do innovative stuff from India, right? And which forces me to think in terms of the readiness of India to innovate at warp speed, right? And Ravi, you have been part of one of that ecosystem in your previous roles, where you worked with one of the large tech companies and you've seen things much closer. You have done accelerators, you have mentored startups, things like those. How ready is the Indian ecosystem, and what do you think are the gaps which is stopping us to sort of innovate from at a warp speed kind of scenario? What's your aggregate view on this?
So I'd say it's more ready than ever before.
Wonderful.
Is it perfect? No. Is it moving as fast as anybody would like? I think everybody who's part of this, who's a stakeholder of the ecosystem, probably thinks it should go faster.
What's
and
missing?
it should go deeper.
What's missing?
No, I think it's a function of maybe domestic market. I think still a lot of the companies here are still trying to find their role in the global organization and get the right mandate. Many of them have it. Some are still working towards that, right? And I think once they have that true global ownership and can kind of start something, nurture something from here, you're starting to see many of them start to do that, but not everyone, right? So I think that will be a thing from the corporate R&D kind of setup that's in India. I think those trying to do it in the Indian market are still a little tepid because they have the mentality of let's build it in-house. I think sometimes when they see some of the startups or what's going on in the startup ecosystem, they have sticker shock. What the bill that you have to pay or the price that you have to pay. Bill means how much burn you have to sustain. Price is if you want to do M&A, what you have to pay to buy some of this in-house. And then they back off and say, okay, let me try and do it in-house. So that I think is a little bit, has been a dampener a bit.
So purely to Jaspreet's point, like looking at outside for innovation, and a lot of companies, at least global companies who are there in India, have now started taking the accelerator journey, right? You've seen a lot of these startup accelerators come up over the last several years. What's your take on that? Is that one better way to do it? Are companies doing it effectively? How should they be thinking about this dimension as they go forward?
See, I think when you look at the innovation programs of lots of companies that are maybe global companies here, I see 3 or 4 different pillars. One is it started in some cases as a recruitment program, right? Which is people want to build a recruitment pipeline or they want to engage with the ecosystem for that. The second is they want to kind of do things that are branding related, right? And this is somewhat related to the recruitment side. And then they come to the product and they want to innovate from here. The leadership wants to demonstrate that India can really own products from India, build even for India and the emerging market, or then subsequently even build for the globe, right? From here. And I think we're seeing that journey being traversed, right? I think the kinds of models we've seen have ranged completely, and in some cases they reflect global models. So you have the case where all the way from a hackathon, somebody will do a hackathon, they'll then say we'll nurture some startups, then they'll come mentoring, then they'll say okay, let's do an accelerator, then they say can we do invest in some startups, then they create a fund, then they might do an R&D lab that is really focused on collaborating purely with startups, right? I mean, and then M&A is the last thing, right? Strategic acquisition, bringing the technology in-house. So I think we've seen a little bit of all of that. But I think the danger is it's become maybe a little faddish in some sense. We have to be careful that the path you take is well reasoned, and it's not just a checkbox, right? Sure. For the purposes of kind of being equal with everybody else in the ecosystem. Because we can have a little bit too much of that also, right?
Yeah, sorry, thank you. But I've been trying to check that box for the last 2 years. Okay, so every review of mine, that box remains unchecked, along with a few other boxes. But that box certainly remains unchecked. And look, all of us, from a corporate viewpoint, we all want corporate accelerator. In fact, if you look around, they are hanging from trees, most of them, right? I mean, they're everywhere. But it's just so difficult yet, and it's probably our myopia, but it's difficult to figure out why you want an accelerator and what is the model that will work for you. People are experimenting. But and coming back to your earlier question on the India bit, and again, sorry,
India ecosystem.
yeah. So whenever we talk about innovation in the India ecosystem, I mean, most of us think about startups. Okay, that's what innovation is supposed to be, and look, that's the majority of it. But I think somewhere hidden inside is this fact that what is that also happening in corporate India? All our big companies, etc. And I think one of the great things that this whole startup boom bust cycle has done, and more boom than bust, is that it has inspired a lot of legacy traditional companies to also follow that route, think differently, take a little bit more risk, and actually innovate. So besides the stuff, the Tringo kind of stuff that I mentioned, there are other things. And what legacy companies bring in, which startups don't yet, is inherent scale and market access, and obviously a level of knowledge of the market that a startup does not have. And so if they can manage to take that innovation DNA, there's a lot of good that can happen to the economy and to the country. Take electric cars, for example. If you think electric cars, you think Elon Musk. But you know what? Elon Musk's electric cars will only work to a limited way in this country. Okay, and a few of us will buy it, flaunt it, show it around. That's about it. You need a completely different model of electric. Okay, the whole charging ecosystem would probably be like the PCO ecosystem of fuel, for example. Okay, you need a different model. Autonomous, it's all over the world now. Would driverless cars work in India? Though some of us might argue that most of our cars are driverless anyway. But keeping that aside, for example, in our auto part of our group, we are not doing driverless cars. On the other hand, we are doing driverless tractors. Okay, because the ecosystem for a driverless tractor is much more ready than for a driverless car in this country. And so you kind of borrow those concepts, but then you kind of have to apply it to far more Indian contexts.
Oh, well, as someone said in one of the previous sessions, you need a little bit of hype to even get to reality. So maybe some of this is hype, and the definition of reality could depend on the ecosystem and the location that we operate in. I don't think we have time left for Q&A, but the speakers will be around, so feel free to catch them. Thank you so much, and we'd love to chat more on some of these topics.